The issue, like for example, with Golden Guardians, that's where I have like all my excuses of you can just jump ship.
All
You
right,
know, like
let's talk about it. What's up with
because
Golden Guardian? Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Eye of the Watchers podcast, where we give you all the support and insight you need to get hyped about League of Legends esports. Today we are talking about what happens when your team is underperforming. Do you jump off the bandwagon? Do you keep rooting for your team? Everyone has a little bit of different opinions on these things, and we're going to talk about this. So I'm your host again, Sam, aka Just Casual. Here I have with me Manny, aka Manster415.
hello everyone.
Hey, so Manny, what are you thinking? What do you do when your team is underperforming?
So we're,
TSM.
we're working the the sweatshirt to represent. I think like one of my main issues, especially being a TSM fan, or that being like my main organization, is how fans of their own teams attack the teams, right? They're like,
Yeah.
man, fuck Mike Young. It's like, whoa, like he's a rookie. He's only been playing for like professionally like 5 months. He's on a new team. It's only 2 weeks in. Give him some time. Like,
Yeah.
and you could actually see the frustration of some of the players with those comments, right? Like interviews, Mike Young is like, wow, I did not expect this like much criticism. He's like, I haven't even been touching like Twitter and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the ideals of like, you need to just chill the fuck out. Like you could be frustrated, but like you can't just go for like witch hunts like every once in a while. And obviously like it's easier if your team has been successful in the past, right?
Yeah.
Like yeah, like TSM, I'm gonna be like, oh, things are fine. Like we're not gonna be dead last, like it's not gonna be a dead last team.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting because I think, when you compare to traditional sports, you have a reason to root for your team because usually location, right? Because I grew up in Wisconsin, I'm a Green Bay Packers fan, or because I grew up in Cleveland, I'm a Cavs fan, and it was great when LeBron came over and we finally started winning, and those that's where you kind of stick with what team you are. But with esports, I think it's tricky because you kind of become a fan of whoever you like the most, and most likely they're winning, because in the past it's been TSM, CLG, Cloud9, and all these are the biggest organizations in esports. So not only do you have a winning team where you're like, wow, Bjergsen is so good, so I like him, you also have the money behind that organization to actually help you get to know who the players are, and then it's so much easier to fall in love with those players. So then when you're rooting for TSM and suddenly doing poorly, you're used to winning, and it sucks to be on rooting for a losing team, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's not easy at all, and I agree with you. Like location, I think like the equivalent of esports is if you followed other esports. In terms of, for example, Liquid had a bunch of fans, even though they never really performed highly, just mainly because of their other like esports teams, right? Like they're one of the most like well-known brands. I mean, alongside Optic now and TSM. So I agree. I mean, like, and to take this into a football that is not well known in America, I'm a Manchester United fan, right? They're one of the most famous English football teams, and in the world, and they used to win all the time, and they've been just struggling these past 5 years. I'm still a diehard fan personally, right? And this is where I think like you should still root for your team no matter how bad. Again, you can get frustrated, like. You might request changes, that's fair. But I also think like it's okay in esports, not as much as in traditional sports. It's okay to have like maybe multiple teams within your region or within other regions, right?
Yeah.
So I have a lot of NA pride. So, if Liquid ended up going to MSI and not TSM, I'm going to be rooting for Liquid.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go all out. And the other difference, which you almost like hinted at, was you fall in love with the players, right? And that's something that a lot of teams have been struggling with, and what franchising is supposed to switch, right? Because so many teams would drop and get relegated, but people would fall in love with the player. It's like, well, I'll follow that player anywhere. And Double Lift, I think, is the best example of that.
Yeah.
There's so many Double Lift fans that switched over from CLG to TSM, and now TL just picked them up, and like so many fans like resurfaced or just showed up because they're like, I love double lift. Like we will follow double lift everywhere.
Yep.
So I think like those are like some of the differences, like major differences between like traditional and like esports.
Mm-hmm.
But like I think it's okay. Maybe you don't want to you don't want to root for the direct rival.
Yeah.
that might seem a little sketchy. It's like, wait a minute. But I think it's okay to root for other teams, especially like if they're new. So like I think it's okay for everyone to be a 100 Thieves fan, for like stuff like that, because they have the players, they have well-known players, but they're like new in the scene. So it's not like they have necessarily like hardcore rivalries.
Yeah. I think it's interesting because I've heard this being spoken, like a lot of people put their like almost their like self-esteem into like their team, so when their team starts losing they feel bad and they get angry and stuff like that. But I guess it depends on why you want to be their fan. Like if you care about their players or their brand or what they believe in, or because of a different game or whatever, like that is your choice, and you should really I think you should personally stick by that team. But if you're grounded in like just winning, you're gonna be jumping teams all the time, unless you happen to be a TSM fan the last like 6 or 7 years, or you've been lucky where a team has been that dominant, and maybe it's because you're a fan of Reggie. So I think it's so tough because we're talking about something that's very opinionated, and I think in esports, like we said before, it's like you don't have the same loyalty to necessarily a team. Hopefully that will change in League of Legends with the franchising system, like we talked about before. But it's so hard to get behind a team when they're losing. And let's put out an example right now. CLG, before this last week, they were 3-1, I believe, and
1-3.
1-3. Well, yeah, 1-3, and then they got 2 wins this past week. And those first 2 weeks, they looked absolutely horrible. Like Rainover looked like he was inting. Febiven even mentioned like in their games, like they just kept throwing their bodies on me, and I just kept killing him. It was like I've never experienced this before.
Yeah, it's a freer win.
Yeah. So if you're a CLG fan, like that totally sucks. Jat he's one of the casters for Riot Games. He was saying that CLG is going to be number 1, and he actually jumped off that. He's like, okay, I give up on CLG after week 2. And he was even mentioning like, it's going to be funny because now that I jumped off of them, they're going to start winning. They did start winning. And
they beat like the best team.
Yeah. They did great.
They did great against they beat Echo Fox. They showed that Echo Fox is beatable. And, again, I completely agree with you. I mean, if a lot of people like see like my jerseys and stuff, I have a Cloud9 jersey, I have now an Echo Fox jersey and a TSM jersey, right? I just love jerseys, and people be like, you can't be a fan of all these teams. It's like, all right, that's fair. So that's where I'm saying though, like I just enjoy the teams because of their personalities. So it's like if Cloud9 go, I'm okay with rooting for Cloud9.
Yeah.
When they're in an international tournament, I don't care like what NA team does well. I just want all NA teams to do well. Like you could even go to Western teams if depending on how good NA did that year or not. But yeah, for sure. I mean, like TSM was having the same issue. They were 1-3. They weren't looking as bad as CLG, but they were 1-3. That's not TSM. Everyone, But to me, that's where it goes wrong, where people start screaming and yelling and, like saying, oh, Bjergsen, like, why the fuck do you suck? It's like, and then it's like, oh, Sven and Mithy, why the fuck did you come over? You guys are from EU, you suck. It's like, and I think like Hanser didn't get any hate because he just was performing decently throughout all the matches. And he has, I think, the best GP in the world right now because he doesn't have like a CS differential, like a negative one. But then people were like Mike Young, right? Because they were stuck in this mindset, and I think like it's a toxic mentality from TSM in particular. And this would be if any team was consistently at the top, right, but never perform internationally. That would be the same situation where it's like your fans are just so fed up. They're like, well, this is the same as Worlds. It's fucking 3 new players. Like, you need to like, and
new coach too.
Yeah, exactly. A new coach, like new coaching staff. I mean, Parth is still there, but he's pretty much hands off in terms of, actual, things that you have to do.
Yeah, yeah.
So I just think like one you need to have patience, depending on your team, right? And I think the one team that there's an exception to, we'll discuss in a little bit, but I think as a fan you need to have patience. You can have options, but it depends on you. Like at the end of the day, if you want to root for whatever team, like no one can stop you, But like my morals are more, I will only root for other teams and towards the international stage, or if my team is no longer present in the picture, right?
Yeah.
So it's like if the finals were not to include TSM, well, I'll go with which team do I want to win? Well, yeah, I'll root for this one, right? I'll be their fan, like
Yeah.
kind of like a temporary like status of fandom, but I'll still personally will always have like TSM as that's my number one.
Yeah, this is interesting because I think this is the first year in a while that I've like said like I'm gonna be a X team's fan. Like just I'm gonna root for them and I want them to go all the way, which would for me would be 100 Thieves. Previously, I think my focus was actually international events. So I actually just wanted, I didn't care who won. I just wanted NA to get better and then like close the gap and get out of groups and like, win MSI or win Worlds, which is like a pipe dream. But that's what I wanted. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us. For me, I like couldn't root for a team. Like I wanted TSM to lose because I'm like, I want TSM to get better. And they're not going to get better by winning all these games. And then therefore I wanted like Cloud9 and CLG and everyone else to like step up your game, man, and like play better. And like I was angry at NA as a whole. Like let's get better. Like I don't know what to do, but we need to get better. So I didn't pick a team. Now with franchising, and I kind of want to get behind like a team and root for them and get excited because like when you don't have a stake in a team, you just like you don't get as excited. So now I watch like all the 100 Thieves games if I can't watch all of them, and I have something to root for. I want to get some apparel, even though I don't like their jersey, but that's a whole nother story.
Hey, once they release huge sweatshirts, they're gonna be fire. So you can just get a sweatshirt.
I'll just get a sweatshirt. Yeah, so like that was really interesting for me, and then going into this year, and then like rooting for a team and a brand new team, and really getting excited that. Wow, 100 Thieves doesn't suck. Yay! I'm happy that I picked a well-performing new team because I did want a new team, and that makes it a little easier for me versus like if I was like a FlyQuest fan or an Optic Gaming fan, like coming from COD, it would definitely be painful. But there's also there's also the part like everyone loves an underdog story in international tournaments. Kaboom! Like Kaboom beats
Kaboom,
INTZ. Yeah, everyone loves these. Exactly. So why can't we just like in North America when we're rooting for our own region, why can't we be like, hey, CLG, I love you guys. I love your personalities, blah, blah, blah. Oh my gosh, this Reign over Biofrost like duo is not going as well as I thought it would be, but it's okay. And we're like, I'm going to root for you because when you beat Echo Fox, it's going to be like, oh my God. Like, where is that attitude towards that,
Yeah, I think that's what is needed in the scene, personally. I completely agree. And even like the teams you gave example for, I mean, FlyQuest, I don't know what they did this past week. That's a whole different video and discussion. But like Optic, they're not that bad.
No, they're not.
Like I put them 10th in my power rankings. They're clearly not the 10th team. That's Golden Guardians. We'll get to them in a second. Optic are not a bad, like they've had close games. They're just missing that special touch, right? Granted, yeah, could they have like slightly better players in some roles?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, 100%. But they're still not a bad team. So like I think also for like these new teams, you just have to give them time, right?
Yeah.
Like I think aside from like maybe 100 Thieves and Clutch that are performing, especially like 100 Thieves that are just performing at a higher level than everyone expected. Like, yeah, okay, you get like that instant gratification, and that means that team is going to be challenging for the top, if not like this split, maybe next split, or maybe next year, right?
Yeah.
Like that shows it. The issue, like for example, with Golden Guardians, that's where I have like all my excuses of you can just jump ship.
Like let's talk about it. What's up with Golden Guardians?
So winless, first of all, 0-6. They've had some like 2 close games. I mean, they nearly beat COG, but then they threw. But then my main issue is if this team was still intact, I'd say like you still have to have some faith, right? Like, yes, it's an all NA team, but you still need to have something. But with this whole Loco Doco drama, it's like, I mean, I won't say anything because I don't know the situation, of course, but the rumors aren't all too hot. But you know, like I had a lot of faith in Loco to be able to do well for this team.
Yeah.
Right. In the long run, everyone was saying in the long run, right? They get high for the long run. They're not necessarily challenging. So it's like, yeah, you're having a bad split, but then seeing all these players, man, sorry, we suck ass. Like we're keeping positive, you know, like the one thing I do give props to is the fans. A lot of fans from Golden Guardians are saying, don't worry guys, we understand, like keep it up. That team is exactly what that needs. If you can't do that, just jump ship. Like it's as simple as that, in my opinion. You know,
and
like
then cry when they get first place next split, right? That's what you're saying, Manny, right?
Yeah,
that's your prediction.
Yeah, they just go. All right, you know what?
Long term
Golden State Warriors. Yeah, the Golden State Warriors is like long term. Yeah, okay, Faker, we're gonna give you $6 million on the spot. Come here now.
Yeah. By long term, we mean next split, obviously, right?
Yeah, of course. But like, you know, I mean, I think every team has like toxic fans. The more your team wins, the louder they are. The
more your team loses, the louder they are too.
Yeah, that's also true. But you know, I think like in a perfect world, that's where like there wouldn't be that, because at the end of the day, like these guys are just better than everyone that's complaining about him. Like, you know, I'm gonna say like, oh man, Bjergsen, you could have done that better. But holy fuck, could I have done that? Hell no. I can't do like half the things, you know, like 1/10 of the things he's done, you know?
Yeah.
And that goes for even anyone on Golden Guardians, right? I'm not anywhere near Lorlo's level, you know, I'm not anywhere near High's level. Like, they're pro players for a reason. At the moment, they're just at the lowest end. Big deal, you know, like they're better than us. Like, again, you know, like if we could go up and do it, we would be up there. And I think as fans, it's sometimes really hard because of how passionate you are for the sport. It's really hard to see that line, right? Because they are professionals, but not everyone's gonna be good, right? If you had like 100 fakers, yeah, okay, maybe it would be very interesting to watch, like just full teams of faker playing against each other, but like it would just not be fun because then you wouldn't have outplay, you wouldn't have personality, right? So I think that's something that is just set in like fandoms in general, you know, for whatever it is.
Yeah, one thing that I want to mention with the Golden Guardians drama, again, we don't want to be like a tabloid podcast and stuff like that. I gained a lot of respect for Golden Guardians in their statement about it, because basically like we don't stand for what Loco Doco did, and therefore no. And they're still investigating. Who knows what's going to happen, but I totally respect a brand doing that and like tossing their season aside, even though it's already kind of crappy. But like I give major props for that. And like it's interesting because as we continue to go on and players might be more stable in rosters, like a brand behind the roster is also really, really important for me. You know, that's one of the reasons why I like 100 Thieves a lot, is because of Nadeshot. I like the brand that he's building on. I like the personality. I like his visibility, and who knows what might change, but that's what I like. And that's what I like right now. With Golden Guardians being able to like man up and make the decision that they did with the reasoning that they had, which I think is real. That's cool. I really like that. And you need to get behind. I believe that getting behind a brand and organization, not just behind the players, is also really, really important in choosing your team.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, if actually,
I completely agree.
If I found out like TSM's known to have a really good organization and good management and stuff like that. If I found out Reggie was like doing some really shady stuff and actually hurting the scene and like mistreating his players and stuff, like, oh boy, like I'm gone. Like, okay, bye TSM. I wasn't really like a huge fan of them, but they're gonna be at like my low point on the bottom of the list, you know, that kind of stuff.
No, for sure. I mean, I think it's the same thing for me. You know, if like Reggie were to say some like really messed up stuff, then I'd be like, all right, I'll root for Bjergsen, I'll root for like the players individually, but at that point, like the brand. And I mean, even 100 Thieves showed that, not in League, and I know that we're mostly focused on League, but like for their CS:GO squad, they let all of them go because they were having issues, and one player said like racial, like insensitive stuff, and they were like, yeah, we're just dropping him, and then at the end they weren't able to fix up the squad correctly, so they were like, yeah, we're just dropping CS:GO for now until we find like a better time, and I think like stuff like that, it's like, yeah, you're kind of saving your own ass, but I at the same time, like, at least knowing like Nadeshot and the 100 Thieves personality, from what we see obviously on camera, it's clear that this is supposed to be like this way, right? Yeah. And this is how we're going to treat our fans, which I think is also difficult to be a Golden Guardians fan, just because I don't think I've seen anything about them.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool that they like showed their roster off at like a basketball game, which was kind of cringy, but like that's fine. You're gonna make mistakes. Like I'm fine with you guys trying things out, like them being able to show off their players at something that probably won't be received super well. Like mad props, but yeah, I haven't seen too much.
Your ad carry.
Yeah, ad carry. Painful.
Yeah, but I mean, I think even like I don't think I've seen as much as I've wanted to from Echo Fox. FlyQuest has had their funny like commercials, but like that's been about it. Optic, I haven't seen as much as I wanted to. I don't know if I'm just not looking at the right place, but like 100 Thieves, great. CLG, great. Like these brands, it's easier to be fans of because you just see so much of them, right?
Yeah.
So if you happen to be like, running one of these teams and you see this podcast, I definitely suggest to just show more of your players. I mean, again, you might have drama, but then try to have like a small video of like your players having fun, CLG was doing that. It's like, oh, can you name the champion? Or, like they were doing like a trivia video, or they interview their players and it's like, hey, so how's it going, man? Like,
yep,
just small stuff like that. It doesn't have to be like a documentary like TSM Legends or, The Heist. You don't have to go to that, or Squads by Team Liquid. Those are their main three, You could do anything, but without knowing them, it's like, okay, so I still don't really know who Deathly is, like, who is Deathly, like, so it's just harder. And again, you're underperforming, and the players seem very upset, and like, again, this whole drama adds onto it. As a fan, you feel that pressure, you see this, right? So I think it's kind of like a both parties' fault.
Yeah.
Where it's like, well, we can't really cheer for someone you don't know, it's kind of like difficult at that point.
Yeah. Shout out to Mark Register, who's been a guest on this podcast, creative director of C9. They've been doing those like 7-minute Cloud9 like little things. Like,
yeah,
that is pretty easy to produce. Some of them are hit and miss, but oh my gosh, I never knew any personality about Reaper until watching those. Like, he is talking, he's laughing, he's swearing, and he's like memeing. I'm like, oh, he's not like this like coach with a stick up his butt. That's like, this is really cool. And
Reaper's so funny.
And actually, it's really cool because the academy team, like, those guys are so chill and get along so well compared to the main roster, where it's like kind of awkward and they can't carry a conversation. But that's still really cool, and you see like personality come out of those, and those guys are gonna get better at it too the more they practice. So like, their interviews are gonna get better, their content's gonna Cloud9's just content will get better because the players are gonna be better at producing content. So like, super mad props to that. Not biased at all because he's been a guest on our podcast or anything.
Yeah, I do agree. I mean, I think like it's funny because you kind of see it like top of the table, aside from maybe Clutch, because I don't think I've seen content from them. But literally, it's like top of the table, or like for top half has their content, has their stuff, and then bottom half kind of doesn't. Like, aside from like one or two teams that,
yeah.
But I think like, as a team, if you want to have fans, if you want to maintain fans, you need to be showing that, right? Hell, grab your coach. Okay, maybe if your coach is the issue, grab a player, grab a team favorite, follow high around. he might have some insightful stuff to say, like he might just meme his ass off. Who knows? He might be like, I don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
Cool, move on to the next one. Like follow PoE. Like, what is Power of Evil doing in NA? Like, oh, he only plays League of Legends. Okay, maybe let's move on to Acadian. Like have like something funny with like Acadian and Romaine like bench pressing against each other. Like
That'd be awesome.
You know what I mean? Like there's just so many ideas that you could go from each individual team that as a team that should be your goal.
Mm-hmm.
Not within like the team performing and doing well. That's just as like your actual ownership. Like you should focus on like showing your players off, or having like cinematography that's really cool. I mean, Team Liquid has stepped up, which is good. I think they kind of had to with their squad. Everyone loves like people from Team Liquid. It's like, who are they? Always so funny. I think.
Oh, he's great. Oh my goodness.
Funniest like interactions has been like, I think like it was this past week. He didn't eat double lift, and he's like, oh my god, Peter, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to. It's like it's like super funny. It's like they're chill. Like I like to see that. I want to see more of that. And then in the fans' perspective, I think you just it sometimes it's hard. I gotten frustrated at teams before, like without a doubt. Gotten pissed at teams before, but you can't go on witch hunts when like I mean if you were in those shoes, and this is like an argument people don't like. If you were in those shoes, they were like, well, yeah, I'm not in those shoes because I didn't decide to be a professional gamer. It's like, okay, but they did. Doesn't mean you have to be as mean as you can because they'll handle it because that's a career they chose. Like, no, different people are different, right? Like,
yeah.
So I think it's just about like patience and such. It's kind of tough.
Yeah. So I think maybe the last thing that we'll touch on, and I'll lead the discussion on this because I'm bringing up one thing I want to talk about is like what is okay to be. We talked about you shouldn't act this way as a fan. You shouldn't like flame people on Twitter and adding them and like bringing negativity to your team just because they're losing and stuff like that. What should you do? What is appropriate? When is it appropriate to get mad at a team and express that? And I think it's great that we have the internet, and if you want to interact with these players, you can very easily. You can go to their Twitch stream. If you wanted to go on Matt's stream and like flame him, well, there's only like 15 people watching it. Like when he first starts it off, you can go there and flame him, make him feel bad, And the problem is that if we fans continue to berate players are gonna put up a wall between us. If you think about the NFL and like a football player, like a kicker, if he misses a kick in the Super Bowl or something like that, they are never going to hear the end of it. ESPN's going to make like videos every year or talk about it every time that player plays. And there's a reason why you just don't see so much interaction between high visible celebrities or athletes and stuff like that. I don't want that in esports. I want us to be like a more encouraging audience than those other mediums. But at the same time, I think it's perfectly fine to be angry and express that anger. Just do it in a way that you would actually talk to someone like not immaturely, I would totally be like, hey, I'm a TSM. Reggie, like, what the hell? I really, really like the previous roster. I'm really upset you made these changes because of X, Y, and Z. But don't be like, Mike Young's an idiot. Why'd you pick him up? He's dumb.
At Mike Young low.
Yeah.
Hey, buddy, fuck you. Like it's so. I mean, something I do, for example, again for Manchester United, I follow their subreddit, and I know not all teams, but hell, maybe you're the one person to start the team subreddit, right?
Yeah.
And then they give you mod powers and stuff like that, like and hey, that's a foot in the door, but have discussion threads in there, and try to keep it civil. Like you could be pissed, I've seen people be like, oh man, this player's like ass. Like I can't believe like he gets play time. And it's like some people are like, agreed, but like think about it this way. Like I think that might be the best way to go. But don't go again. Like my whole idea is like you said, going on someone's stream and then just flaming them. Like one, that's immature. Two, that's just like messed up. Imagine like someone trying to play a game and entertain people and then like imagine yourself in their shoes. Like
KYS.
it's just fun. Yeah, KYS. It's like, hey man, thanks for the input.
Thanks
We'll
for the
look into it.
donation. I'll read that on the
Yeah,
stream.
yeah. So like, I think there's good ways. Like, sure, Reddit, you can go berate people. If the pros read it, I guess it's kind of like 50-50 on each person's part. It's like, well, the pro didn't have to read it, but he read the comments, right? He saw that. Um, but I think it's still about respect, right? Like you just being decent. Like
Yeah,
you
being
can have
decent.
criticism, but you don't have to be like, yeah, man, I wish this person would kill himself. Maybe you'd be more useful in the team then. It's like, or let's calm down. Let's tone it down 15 notches and just say your criticism and leave it at that. It's like,
Yeah. Bring some backing behind it. Don't just say stupid stuff and like actually be like, Mike Young screwed up because X, Y, and Z. That's like so much more useful. And that could be helpful for the team, maybe an analyst will see that and be like, yeah, you know what? I didn't think of that and they're right. I don't know. Maybe that's the way you help your team, but don't be dicks. Like it's not
yeah.
like
Yeah, exactly.
why are you so unhappy with your own life that you have to be like rude to other people or something?
Like honestly, like, and if you are that person and you're watching this stream, you want to flame me, go right ahead. But like, it's just like, it's passion. I get it. I'm a very passionate person. Like it comes down to like people that are passionate, or either that or they're trolls and assholes, like one or the other. But if you're super passionate, just like find better ways to criticize or try to improve your team.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go for like, well, Mike Young, you are an actual ward in the jungle, like moving wards, like, you can meme and stuff. Like, I'm not saying like there can't be any sort of criticism, but like just be tactful, like, like be smart about it. Like you don't have to be a complete dick about it.
Yeah. I'm worried that so much negativity is just going to prevent players from seeing it, because they're told like, don't go on Twitter, don't go on Reddit. And I get it. That's probably the right decision for performance, but then we don't get to have this like really tight knit scene that we started off with, and that's really unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think you see that from TSM. I mean, after Worlds, all their players were like, "Well, I'm taking a break from Twitter. Bye, guys." Because, and again, it's frustrations. I mean, Worlds Championships. You expect this team that always says to win Worlds, like that they'll do something. They don't. Like it happens all the time.
Yeah.
Not the favorite is not always gonna win. Like, so I think it's just it's definitely like rough, right? But as a fan, like your duty is to just help the players. I mean, in all honesty.
Yep.
Totally, and you can criticize them, but like again, be smart about it, or just send supportive stuff. Like players love that. Players love to see like between the 13 messages of, hey man, kill yourself, the one that says, hey man, you inspire me to be a better player. Keep up the good work. Like it's not paying off now, but it will. It's like, all right, there we go. Like,
double lift. It's okay. Flashing is really hard,
Yeah, it's like, don't worry, double lift. I die without my flash all the time.
All the time.
So again, I think you could also like different players are more tolerant or less tolerant. I mean, if they're newer to the scene, be kinder on them. Like they're new to the scene, you don't have to go all out. And I think that just comes with any team in any sport, esports or traditional. So
cool. All right, yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up. We kind of went. This episode turned into something a little different than what we started off, I think. But we talked about just what to do as a fan for teams that are having rough times. Hopefully you guys got some insight on this, and that is it for the Eye of the Watchers, where we're trying to give you all the support and insight you need to get hyped about League of Legends. We'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye.